Good morning, everyone. I'm thrilled to have the honor to open this year's Black Alps conference. And it means a lot to me to be back here in Yverdon at Black Alps. Because Black Alps has a very special place in my heart. It was here that I had the chance to give my very first talk back in 2016. So thank you for being here with me, sharing my passion to bring people together and to talk about vulnerabilities. I am Florian, one of the founders of Bug Bounty Switzerland and doing bug bounties for almost 10 years now, and this is what I like to do very much. Let me give you a very short overview of what we do at Bug Bounty Switzerland. Obviously, it has to do with bug bounties, where hackers find vulnerabilities for a reward. But we do it at scale, by making bug bounty available as a commodity. You can just ask us to do it for you, and we will do that. Nothing is necessary on your side. No team, no organizational structure, almost nothing. It is very easy to do. This approach that we have chosen to do, it scales pretty well. Our biggest customer today is a British multinational company with tens of thousands of employees all around the world and countless systems. The smallest customer today is a small municipality in the Bernese Oberland. And guess what? This small municipality has already issued its CVE advisories. This work that we do leaves us in a very interesting position with unique insights into the inner state of cybersecurity and vulnerability, in Switzerland mainly today, but also abroad. In the past month, in our work, we had the chance to do more than 100 engagements with our customers and bring hackers on those engagements. And when we calculate with roughly 100 systems in scope per average engagement, something that is reasonable because we like to involve almost all the systems an organization has, this gives us in the end more than 10,000 systems that we have tested, and on those 10,000 systems we received more than 2,700 vulnerability reports. So let's use this unique data set to extract and combine all the bad stuff that we have seen into a carefully crafted roadmap to disaster, into what I call an express lane to catastrophe. And by the way, on the right side, this is what you get when you ask an AI about how such an express lane could look like. It seems that AIs are bad at spelling. I didn't manage to get it to write catastrophe correctly, so I think this is good news for all the teachers out there. You won't be replaced that soon. Let's start with something quite obvious. To keep your vulnerabilities, just don't look for them. It is as simple as that. And luckily for us, this is quite easy to do, to discover all our 2,700 vulnerabilities. It took more than 8,500 hackers to find those. You can see it on the right side. The lower curve is the number of vulnerabilities. The upper curve is the number of hackers it took to find them. So finding vulnerabilities is hard, so don't do it. And if you don't look for them, also make sure nobody else has the incentive to do so. What we can see here is a timeline of an engagement we did with the number of vulnerabilities found and reported. The incentives play a crucial role in finding them, as we can see here, with 3,000 Swiss francs as a max bounty. Nothing much happened here, and it was quiet. The scope was very hard. But with a 10x increase in bounties, the remote code execution on the productive e-banking system in scope came quite fast. With this, we have our first 2 steps on our path to disaster. Don't look for vulnerabilities and make sure nobody else is doing it. All right. Beautifully following our rule number 1, not to look for vulnerabilities, we have some tests going on in an engagement, and we made very sure that the relevant systems with the juicy stuff in it have not been included in scope, so that the vulnerabilities remain undiscovered there. But unfortunately, some of the hackers are thorough and report vulnerabilities they stumble upon, even if they are not included in scope. And may I present to you Spring Boot actuators exposed to the internet unprotected. But what are those actuators? They're part of a framework, the Spring Boot framework, written in Java. It's quite popular, I think. And they allow to monitor and manage applications for developers. And all endpoints are considered sensitive and secured by default. The official docs sums it up quite nicely. Actuators can generate a large amount of motion from a small change. And the large amount of motion here means leaking of highly sensitive data, like passwords, keys, and everything that is included in memory. And normally this leads to remote code execution quite fast again. With the second example, we have steps 3 and 4 on our express lane. Don't care about exposure, just expose it. And if you have to deal with security by default, that's bad, disable it. Let's move on with the next one. And yes, it is about identities. The beginning is quite unspectacular. It's a report that came in, looks like this, broken authentication, but the vulnerability is, as we can see on the endpoint that is listed here, on AEM, the Adobe Experience Manager, a big, complex and well-known publishing system. The CVSS score provided by the hacker definitely got my attention here. And what we have here is a report in the category of "This will never happen to me." An expensive, powerful system of a big organization with admin as credentials. I'm actually very interested in your opinion here. And like to ask you, who of you think that this will never happen within your own organization? Nobody. I think we are doomed. But yes, it happens. And to make the impact crystal clear, the hacker invested a little bit more. He took a web shell, created an AEM bundle out of it, deployed it using the admin panel, and the result can be seen here. The experienced eye gets it immediately, the beginning of something very bad. And we have one more step on the highway to pawnage. Just trust the people, they will tell you who they are. Or, as I like to call it, infinity trust instead of zero trust. Time to step up our game, get technical, and do some crypto. And again, we have a report to enjoy. We have a crypto vulnerability called AES CBC bit flipping, a 0-day, and something quite complex, as the hacker states. So be warned. The system affected consisted of two parts mainly. I think this is important to understand. One being accessible from the outside. It's actually multiple parts of those thing. It has multiple instances, and they are exposed to the internet and running everything that should be available. And we have another piece of the system protected by a web application firewall, and this protected part giving privileged access to the first ones out there. And giving access to those other systems is done using encrypted deep links with the identity and authorization contained in it. There are quite many pieces to the puzzle here, and it begins with the usual step, bypassing the WAF, protecting the first part of the system. Who needs to care about secure crypto if you have a WAF in front? And we can see the bypass here was rather on the easy side. The second piece is one more reference to our rule number 1, keeping everything hidden. The code of the system is proprietary, so no worries. But, as we have also already learned, hackers are bad. And keeping stuff hidden and proprietary didn't work here. The source code leaked using another vulnerability. This is another story. And last, we have encryption. Good luck getting past that. But we are about to learn that crypto can be hard, and if you do it wrong, well, something bad can happen. This is CBC, AES CBC, I spare you the details, but without tamper protection, you can modify some parts of the encrypted data, some of the blocks, by rendering others useless. And this is exactly what our hacker did. He identified where the authentication and authorization part was located in this encrypted piece that is sent in the link, and crafted a method to change that part. I have warned you, it's quite complex. Feel free to have a look here. But the important step is at the bottom of the image here. And the hacker found a way to generate ciphertext that injects the authorization in the deep link and decrypts properly due to badly done crypto. To keep it short, here is the final result that we got. A script, 15 lines of Python, that fetches an encrypted state from this protected part of the system, flips some bits to generate the authenticated deep links for the system and scope, and in the end giving full admin access to the backend of all those instances available. And we have yet another step on our highway to disaster. Do your own crypto and failure is guaranteed. One part of today's modern world is still missing. And yes, you may have guessed it, let's go to the cloud. What we have here is another bug bounty report, and we have a cloud-based system that fetches some config data from another cloud-based system. The endpoint is public available and giving back a little bit more than just config data. When asked correctly, this endpoint gives you back some keys. Those keys can then be used to fetch access tokens, and with those access tokens, you can access another endpoint that gives you more credentials. In the end, the hacker was able to access everything, or he got the keys to the fluffy castle living up in the clouds. You can see it on the right side. The hacker then asked casually if he should send over some samples of end customer data, legally protected end customer data. the customer was a bank, and the systems have been productive. We declined to do that. We had enough. And one funny side story here, the customer asked us explicitly to exclude the sensitive systems with legally protected data in it to prevent lengthy discussions with the legal department. But it shows once more, your biggest risks are probably not where you think they are. And we have one more reference to our rule number 1. Don't look if you're afraid of what could be found. This gives us our final step on the highway to disaster. Just move to the cloud and all your sorrows are gone. It's beautiful, isn't it? And to recap briefly, if you want ensure insecurity with certainty, just follow those simple steps. Don't look for vulnerabilities. Make sure nobody else is doing it. Expose what you can. It simplifies things. Time is money after all. And if it is secure by default, disable it and you will feel already much better. Trust keeps the world spinning. Trust as much as you can. Do crypto, but do it yourself. And finally, shake up your foundations, follow the herd, and just move to the cloud. This is it, what I call the express lane to catastrophe, or as the AI spells it, to catastrophe. Thank you very much for your attention.